Welcome to season 3 of the Venue Success Podcast, where every episode in the season is a quick, actionable tip from Tirzah to help you elevate your venue. So today we're going to be talking about something that I love, getting reviews. This was always a very huge priority to me when I was running my venue. And so I just wanted to share with you how we went about being one of the highest reviewed venues in all of North Carolina. So again, this is something I'm super passionate about, and I hope that this episode will really help you guys take your reviews to the next level. Okay, so where do people review? So there's just a few basic ones, right? We have The Knot, Wedding Wire, Yelp, Zola, Wedding Spot, I guess, and Google. So there's a few things that I'll say about some of these platforms just right off the bat. So The Knot, let me just tell you my humble opinion about The Knot reviews. And I hope that most of you guys understand the philosophy around, in my opinion, again, why I believe the badges with The Knot and Wedding Wire were kind of a thing. So any of you guys that have listened to some of the conversations that we've had around SEO, you understand that backlinks are everything for SEO. So the people at The Knot and Wedding Wire are very brilliant. I have to hand them this. They are very brilliant. So they have these awards, and what we are all doing for them is when we win this award, that is quite easy to win, by the way, we all are so excited, and we want to share about the fact that we are just a wonderful best of wedding winner, which again, so many people are, so it's not that special. But back in the beginning, we all felt like it was kind of really special, right? And we'd all get excited. I was one of these people every year when we would bust our tails to be sure that we could win this award. And then we get the little image that they send to us, right, that we stick on our website. But what is really the priority with them, with these images that you're sticking on your website? They're backlinks. You click on it, it takes people off of your website and it takes them to their platform, which does amazing things for their SEO. Okay. Now, I'm just sharing this. I'm just putting it out there. I'm not telling you to take those images off of your website. I know I've seen some of you that have like 10 years worth of those on your website. By the way, you don't need them all. Just use the most recent one. Nobody really cares about that. So it looks a little cluttered at some point. That's just some free advice. So anyway, the awards are a SEO backlink game. Okay. So let's just put it out there. That's my personal opinion about those ones. Now, let me say this about The Knot and Wedding Wire. I can't actually remember what it is with Wedding Wire. I feel like it might be different from The Knot, but again, don't quote me on this. With The Knot, when we were trying to get these awards, we were really worried when I finally broke free and said, I'm not doing this anymore, and I stopped advertising with them. The only reason why I was nervous about it, because I was like, oh my gosh, every year I've won this award since 2013, and I don't want to lose my streak, right? And what I found is that people were still leaving us reviews there. And if we got 10 5-star reviews, that we could still win. And I have evidence of that for, 3 or 4 years after we stopped advertising them, that we could still win the award. So if there's any of you that care about the award and are worried to stop advertising with them because of that, I could tell you in my personal experience, it did not limit me from winning. So again, I'm not sure exactly, that could have changed in the last couple of years, how many you have to get the award. I'm not really sure. Okay, so then Yelp. I don't really believe that Yelp is a really amazing platform for reviews. I don't think a lot of people pay it much attention, but I will tell you when it's a problem. I was doing this for a venue I was looking at the other day, a consulting thing, and for some reason when I researched their venue, I think I was in a browser that I wasn't normally in, and no Google reviews popped up, none, only Yelp, which was very interesting. I have to go back and research why that happened and what browser I was in. But it was really fascinating to me that only Yelp popped up. And this venue in particular had a 3.5 rating on Yelp, which obviously is not favorable. So I did a little bit more digging. I found their Google reviews, and they had well over 200 reviews, over 4.5 rating on Google, which is something to be proud of, right? But when I was chatting with them, I was like, hey, listen, I'm not a big lover of Yelp reviews, but you might want to give that a little bit of attention to get that rating above 4.5, which would be good. Now, here's the tricky thing with Yelp. They are, I don't know, unethical in my opinion, the way that they will hide certain reviews that are actually real. So I had a ton of people over the years leave non-solicited great reviews on Yelp, and they were hidden, and it really affected the way that I looked on Yelp, which was very frustrating. So anyway, that's my 2 cents about Yelp. I think Zola is kind of self-explanatory. Wedding Spot, it is a review platform. Again, it's not one of the most popular, but what is the most popular platform? Google. And in my humble opinion, Google is the most important place for reviews. Why? Because as it stands now, and maybe someday ChatGPT will win this battle, but as it stands right now, Google is the biggest platform for a search engine, right? And so Google is going to want you to use their platform, just like Google My Business. And we've talked about this before, how you want to make sure that your Google My Business is up to date. And this kind of goes hand in hand with that. You want to keep the GMB listing active, and you want to have active recent reviews inside of Google's review platform. So we had, I think over 550 reviews on our website. And so had a really, really great presence over there. And so I'm going to give you a little bit more information about that here in a minute, but let's just pause and talk about how do you get reviews? Because I know that this is the biggest issue for a lot of people. And so I had someone on my team that this was part of their job description. And what they would do is they had a spreadsheet that had every single one of our clients from that year. And we would track, and after every event, we would sit and have a staff meeting, and we would decide if we were going to actually ask them for a review. And I'll get to that a little bit more in a second. But we had this spreadsheet that had all of them in there. We would write out if we're going to ask them for a review or not. And then if they did, we would keep track of where they left us a review and what the rating was. So we always knew who had left one and who didn't. And it was really a great, because there's so many different places that people can leave a review, and obviously, you would never ask them to go to all of those 5-6 platforms and leave you a review on all of them. That would be too big of an ask, in my opinion. So one of the things is, from the very beginning, we would very gently plant a seed that our desire was to bust our tails, give them such a great experience that we knew that they were going to just want to give us a 5-star review. So, and it could just be saying things like, we're so grateful that you chose our venue. We want to give you a 5-star experience. And if there's ever anything that you need, please let us know, because that is our absolute desire, is to give you that 5-star experience. So you're just kind of subliminally putting that in their mind. The second thing is, like I said, we don't automatically solicit reviews from every couple, because there are some people that just cannot be pleased, and we've all worked with those ones. So why would we send someone an automatic message right after their event that we know it was just something happened that was maybe outside of your control, whatever, they were unhappy? You're not going to want to ask them for a review. Now, let me just pause here for a second and talk about, what do you do if someone has a bad experience and you're afraid that they're going to leave you a bad review? I think that it's really important to give them a voice. So sometimes all they need to feel is that they have told you their concerns and that you humbly receive that information, even if you don't agree. This is really important. So if you send them a message and just say, hey, listen, I know there was a couple bumps in the road yesterday, and I understand that you are frustrated about X, Y, or Z. My goal as a venue manager or as an owner is to do the very best that I can for all of our couples. So I'd really love some constructive feedbacks. And then you could either put out the questions that they respond to you, or you could just say, can you please tell me a little bit more about your experience so I could be sure to address these issues for future couples. There are some of those that have just malicious intent and they're going to leave you a bad review no matter what. And we'll talk about that in a minute as well. But again, giving them a voice is really, really important. And sometimes just that very simple thing will allow people to get it off their chest and move on and not go try to damage your business. Okay. So again, we're talking right now about how to actually get these reviews. So number one, we're planting the seed that your desire is for their 5-star review from the very beginning. We don't automatically solicit reviews from everyone. And number three, here's our tricky thing that we do. So, there was someone from our team always at every event, right? So even if you're a venue only, you probably have a venue manager there or something like that. We're always taking behind the scenes footage, and we're taking that footage, and not that we're going to spam them with this or anything, but the day after their wedding, sometimes even the night of, it just depends how late the night is, I will send them some pictures from behind the scenes and tell them, I know you probably want to post some things on your social media. Here's some beautiful pics I got kind of behind the scenes. And then something nice, like you were such a lovely couple, like I compliment something about them. I'm not asking for a review right now. Most of the time, I'm doing this the day after their event. Now, we also know if they're going on a honeymoon, we know what their plan is. We always know that as part of the planning process. So maybe that's where I'll be like, have an amazing time in Jamaica. Here's some behind the scenes photos. You guys were such a pleasure to work with. Have a great honeymoon. And then most of the time, I would say 99% of the time, they're going to respond and say, oh my gosh, Tirzah, thank you so much. I love these photos. My day was so amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, first of all, you're going to screenshot it and you're going to use that for your stories. But also after they do that, you would just be like, hey, listen, I know you're on your way for your honeymoon. Don't worry about this now. You're going to be getting a postcard from us, and I'll tell you about that in a second. And it would mean the world to us. The best thank you, this is what I say, the best thank you is a wonderful review. And actually, sometimes I would say the best thank you is a 5-star review. And because they need to know what it is that you want. There are some people that just will not, for the life of them, it's like, I don't know what it is. It makes me so crazy. They just won't leave a 5-star review. I've had people leave a 4-star review and their message is like, best day ever, wouldn't change a thing, 4 stars. Like, what the heck? What the heck? It's so crazy to me. Anyway, so you're going to tell them that. Okay, so number 4 is the thank you postcard. We created this beautiful postcard that had a picture of the venue, and then it has a place on the back that we could write a little love note to them, and then it had a QR code on it as well. The QR code can take them wherever it is that you feel like you want to work on boosting your reviews. Again, I believe Google should be the place that you are really putting your priority. And it just makes it so much easier for them to just be able to scan the QR code and leave you a quick review. So that was something that we implemented a couple years ago, and it was a game changer for us. The other thing that I would say is really cool is you could find them anywhere online. I don't have a particular company, but many do it, where you can have a QR code that's actually at your bar or somewhere strategically. So if there's someone that's actually at the event that you're having a great interaction with, you could just hand them this little, it's almost like the size of a sticker is what we printed, and you just hand it to them. And again, this is strategically, right? So maybe the groom's parents are like, this was so amazing. You could just hand them one of those as well. So again, having access to this easy QR code, whether it be these little postcards or the little things that we would hand out to people. There's also a way to put a QR code just on your phone and they get scanned from your phone. I always felt it's a bit weird to have them like do it right on the spot, even though I wish they would. Some people leave QR codes on their bar. I don't love that necessarily because it could be maybe some unfavorable reviews that you get too if there's a especially grumpy group there. So you would want to be cautious about maybe when you put that out on your bar or in some strategic place. But again, it's just being proactive. That's the bottom line, which leads me to number 5, which are the personal reach outs. So because we have the spreadsheet with all of our clients and, okay, we sent them a postcard on this date, haven't heard from them, you reach out again, and you're like, hey, I know life is super busy, but it would mean so much to us if you would pop us a review. It'll just take a couple minutes, but we're just so grateful for you. And we had such a lovely time working with you. This would just mean a lot to us. And so oftentimes when we followed up with them after the postcard, the response was, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I totally lost the postcard. I'm doing it right now. So it just goes back to the things that we talk about, like in sales. It takes multiple reach outs to get people to do the thing that you want them to do. And so sometimes it means asking them a few times. And I honestly, a lot of you will tell me, oh, I don't want to be annoying. I don't want to ask them too many times. Well, don't be annoying. If you've reached out, you've asked them via text after their wedding, after you sent the picture, you sent them a postcard, you personally reached out. I think if you reach out 3-4 times max, you could probably just forget that review. Because again, we don't want to be annoying. Okay, so let me give you a couple things to be aware of, and then we'll talk about what to do when you get a bad review. So beware. I learned this. I never got in trouble, but this was years ago, maybe 10 years plus ago. I would do this thing where I would send people a text and I'd be like, I would so appreciate your review. And I actually asked them to leave a review on the Not Wedding Wire on Google. And I'm like, if you leave us a review in all 3 of those places, your next Starbucks is on me. I thought that I was being so adorable. And we did get a lot of reviews. Like the Starbucks incentive really worked. Well, one day, I don't even know what it was. I was reading an article somewhere and I was like, oh my gosh, that is totally against Google's policy. And I could have gotten in big trouble. So I immediately stopped doing that. But again, it was ignorance. I had no idea that was against their rules. So just know if you're doing that and they find out that you're doing that, they could pull all of your reviews down. They could actually halt your account. There are some pretty devastating things that could happen. So let's talk about the FTC. Is it against their rules? Not necessarily against their rules. What is that you can't say, we'll give you this gift if you give us a 5-star rating. It cannot be contingent on a good rating. So that is just a little free bit of information for you if you're offering gift cards or any type of monetary gift for someone leaving a review. Okay, so let's talk about if you get an unfavorable review. I see so many of you that are afraid to stand by your policies because of getting a bad review. And I just want to, in all love, but also in some admonition, tell you to stop it. Stop. You have to stay true to your policies, whether or not people like them or not, and to not be so freaking afraid of unfavorable review. Because here's the thing, you cannot please everyone. You cannot. There's just unhappy people in this world, and you could do everything perfectly, and they leave you a bad review because they were in a fight with their mom all day and it put them in a bad mood. And so, yeah, it could be the DJ did a bad job, but it was the one you recommended. So who gets the bad review? The venue. Like, it often does come back on the venue, and I get that. I've talked to you before on this podcast about very terrible things that have happened at my venue that were 100% out of my control. And I'll just give you one example. It's the one, if you guys heard the episode of the lady that asked me for a job and I told her no. She wanted to pay off her wedding by working for me. And I told her, hey, listen, after your wedding, we could definitely talk about a job opportunity, but it's against our policy for clients to work with us before their event. And she got very upset. So this was the lady that sabotaged our bathrooms during her event. They put rags down the toilet, corn on the cob, which we don't serve corn on the cob, so we knew that it was definitely them. Some of their bridal flowers were ripped apart and shoved down the toilet. Totally stopped the toilets from working during the event. And they proceeded, them and a bunch of their friends, to leave us terrible reviews. Obviously, I was really upset when I read her review. And so here's my first thing that I will tell you. Don't ever respond when you're upset. Let it sit there for a second. It is not going to destroy your business overnight. It's just not. Now, if they are maliciously recruiting people to come and leave you bad reviews and all this stuff, there's a time and a place to get maybe a lawyer involved, send them a cease and desist. Sometimes just a really strongly worded letter will stop people, but most of the time it's not going to come to that. So don't respond when you're upset. When you're upset, if you really feel like you want to say something, open your computer and write everything that you want to say to them. Just put it in your computer. Say it all. Call their names. Do whatever it is that you feel like you want to do. Put it in the document, write it out, and put it in a little folder that you call venting. I don't know what you want to do with it. Print it off, rip it up, put it on a dartboard and throw darts at it. I don't know what you need to do. Sometimes we just have to get it off of our chest, right? Then you are going to go back when you are calm. And this person that left me a review, it was very long and it had a lot of things that needed to be addressed. So if it was a long, bad review, I left a long review kind of explaining why those things, in my opinion, were not accurate. And keep in mind that you are leaving a response to an unfavorable review, not for the crazy person, but for the potential clients that will be reading your response. So when you write, think about that person, talk to that person, not getting into the weeds and getting emotionally sucked into that negative person and that unfavorable review. Make sense? So you're talking to the future person. So I was calm. I was, in some ways, I had a almost jovial type of attitude, but it was strong. And I honestly, like, some of you are freaked out about responding to bad reviews. I love it. I love it so very much because it's like, this is my chance to say whatever I want in response, right? And I don't want to actually, I don't want to make them more upset. So you have to be very careful about how you do this. But let me tell you this. Honest to God truth. I have sold probably close to a dozen weddings because of my response to that person's review. Because most people are going to look at the 5-star reviews and the 1-star reviews. They don't really care about too much what is between. And so there was actually a couple of different instances. One was when a groom and his groomsmen broke into our alcohol closet and stole a bunch of alcohol. I have pictures of it and cameras and all that stuff. And then she left us and a bunch of her friends left us bad reviews. And again, I was like, hey, well, listen, like, you stole a different bride's alcohol. I don't know if that you felt like that was okay, but that was definitely theft. You were breaking and entering. You stole someone else's alcohol. So it was like she had all this other little stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, here's something that I'll say about something that you did. And again, you don't want to get too tit for tat, but I think it is a way that you can be postured and confident in your response to them and not be bratty. There's a fine line. Now, when I was doing this, I didn't have the wonderful chat GPT that could take my reviews and soften them or whatever. So that is another thing that you can do now that I didn't have, is to take their review and ask ChatGPT to write a response. And maybe that would at least give you a framework for a place to start, and then you could kind of put things in your own words too. So again, don't let a potential bad review cause you to not stand true to your policies and guidelines. It's really, really important, my friends, because a lot of people think that they can get away with anything when they threaten you with a bad review, and you just can't let them do that. So let me close by talking about the quantity of reviews and the importance about the quantity. Let me just give you an analogy. If you're on Amazon, right, and you want to buy a pair of boots, and the pair of boots look almost exactly the same, right? Very little differences. But sometimes you see this and it's like, is this almost the exact same product? I don't know. But one has 10 5-star reviews. Another one has 100, but it has a 4.5-star overall rating. Which one are you going to choose? The one with 10 5-star reviews, or the one that looks just like that, but it has 100 4.5-star reviews? For me, I want to go with the one that has 100, because to me, it's 10 times more people purchase that product. Why did they choose that one over this one when they look exactly the same? I don't know. I can't figure that out. I'm just going to go with the one that has the higher quantity of reviews, because I'm like, well, 10 5-star reviews, that's not many people. Those could have been purchased. I don't know, all of those things that go through your mind. So quantity is really, really important. And so that's kind of my closing thought to you today, is I like to start at the beginning of the year and be like, okay, if you have 100 reviews, you're going to sit with your team, or maybe the team is yourself, and you're going to say, my goal by the end of this year, if I have 50 events, my goal is that I want at least 50% of those people to leave me a review. Now, that is definitely on the conservative side, but you're saying, okay, I want 25 reviews in the next year. For me, I like to shoot for the stars. I was in that 50 to 75 reviews a year mark when I really started pushing Google. So I didn't really start pushing Google. I was always pushing people to the Knot and Wedding Wire until 2019 when they merged, and I just did not feel good about the situation. So from 2020 till 2025 when we sold, I think we added over 300 5-star reviews just in that amount of time. That's a lot. So you're going to think about not just soliciting reviews from your clients, but also a maid of honor that you really got along with, or the dad of the groom that loved everything about your venue, but again, who has this information, right? So being able to get people's information is really helpful. So another way to do that is if you're doing behind the scenes photos and you're there with the groom's dad or something, you could be like, hey, I got some amazing pictures. Do you want me to text them to you? You text them to the dad. All of a sudden you have his cell phone. So you could also follow up with that person as well. Does this take a lot of effort? Absolutely. It does, but it doesn't take a lot of time. So you could potentially get 3, 4, 5 5-star reviews out of one event, and that just pushes you all the closer to your goal, whatever that may be. So as you're listening to this, we're still early in the year. It's February. And so you have the whole rest of this year. You're probably not producing a lot of events right now. So as you are having final meetings with people, when people are booking with you, start putting that little thought in their head that your whole desire is to give them a 5-star experience. Now, if you feel like this is tedious, this is a time suck for me, I don't have time to do this, hire someone that is going to work 2 to 3 hours a month. That's all that it would probably be. At the most, an hour a week. And their whole job is to come in and keep track of who's given reviews and to message people asking for those. This needs to be a priority for you, my friends, because in a extremely saturated market, there's a lot of new venues, Many people are not putting a priority on this. So when you hear me talk about set yourselves apart, do this. Get more reviews. Make a goal to double your reviews this year. What if you could do that? You absolutely will stand apart from the rest. Now, when I'm doing a market analysis for my clients, this is something that I actually track. And it's a really fun thing. I've never seen anyone do this on their tracking for their market analysis. Is I look and see what is their rating on some of the main platforms. So I usually just look at Wedding Wire, The Knot, and Google, and I want to see what those reviews are and how many they have. I want to be the most reviewed venue in my market. That's a very, very cool thing to track. So that is all I have for you today. I hope that this was helpful for you. And this season with Tips from Tirzah are little nuggets of things that have been extremely important for me. And I've got a few more amazing episodes to come. The next one up being all about working with family. So stay tuned for that one, my friends. And we'll see you next time on the Venue Success Podcast.